Yahsonn. Real conversation. Lately we be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Tuesday night and everybody tuned in live. Bankie and Yahsonn bringing reasoning every time. Talking politics and the things affecting lives. Breaking down the stories they be trying to hide. Used to trust the system, now the trust gone. Everybody talking loud, but the facts wrong. People tired of the fake and the gimmicks too, so they coming to these topics for a clear review. Got the whole Caribbean locked on the station. Real entertainment network building conversation. No script vibes, not stage for the camera. Just real people talking straight with stamina. And we be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Sometimes Fridays got a special live session. Big topics got the whole place stressing. Agriculture, crime, economy discussion. Every episode spark another conversation, and the comments start flying when the lights start. Everybody got a view from the heart. Some agree and some disagree too, but at least these topics bringing real views. No pretending when the mic turn on. Yahsonn reasoning while Bankie stay strong. People checking in from overseas too, cause I find conversation hard to come through. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth.
And the global greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topics. As a matter of fact, an exclusive edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment Network this evening on a beautiful Friday evening here on Queen City, Nevis, Oli, better known as Nevis, and Liamiga, better known as St. Kitts. Also want to say good evening to our brothers and sisters throughout the entire Eastern Caribbean. And morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you may be geographically, one of those greetings may be applicable to you. It's another beautiful Friday evening. It's Mango Festival. It's the start of another wonderful weekend here on Nevis. And We are about to get into a very engaging discussion with our very special guest for this evening, former Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Joseph Parry. And we have our usual co host, Shabazz Bankie King, and we look forward to your engagement, our usual listeners, and we want to encourage you from early to come on in, subscribe to the platform if you're a new listener, subscribe, go on over to the YouTube platform, subscribe, click on the notification bell, like, share, tell your friends. Even your enemies too. Let them know that we're here live on Real Entertainment Network, and we've got some interesting topics and questions for Mr. Parry this evening, and you yourself will get an opportunity to, at some point, as you put your questions on the wall, we will seek to go through, nights like these, sometimes we don't get to go through all of the, questions on the wall, but we'll also have an opportunity for you to call in as well, and weigh in. All we ask is that you be as forceful and as passionate as you would like to, but we would want you to be also just as respectful as well to our guests and ourselves and the platform as well, Real Entertainment Network, as we would not necessarily want any libel or any sue or any, such. We want to continue with our program to the level and the standard that it has been built. And so, with that said, we want to say a special thanks to our sponsors, Islander Water Sports and On the Rocks restaurant. If you're traversing between the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis from Orly to the Reggae Beach route, any time of the day, you reach out to Vincent Perkins and the team there at the Islander Water Sports, and they'll be able to take you over. They do private charters. Even if it's late, 12, 1, and you might need to get over, you give them a call and, hey, they'll definitely try to work something out for you. Moving down to the islands, whether it's Anguilla, St. Martin, Staba, Statia, and you want to get down to those sides, they offer charters that takes you down into those regions as well. So, and while you're waiting for, whether it's traversing or if you're on your way back and you're looking for some scrumptious food to eat and some, wonderful drinks and a nice ambiance, and you can enjoy the sunset right there on the Rocks Restaurant. Perfect. Fresh caught fish of the day. So there's a lot of seafood options. And we want to encourage you to patronize the business and the good people there at Island Water Sports and On the Rocks. Also, Shabazz Organics, former Mansa's Last Stop. You want to make sure you check them out and, take a visit on the farm, do the farm tour, enjoy some of the scrumptious food they have there available, and also enjoy the ambience because you can also enjoy the sunset from there, looking over right there on the ocean as well. Imperial Rides, Taxi and Tours, and Heritage Cafe. We want to say give thanks to all those who support us. And we encourage you, if you have a small business and you want to, be a part of the platform, you can also reach out to us and organize something to get your business advertised and here on the platform as well. So, with that said, Bankie, good evening, greetings.
Good evening, Yahsonn, and good evening to our guest, Mr. Parry. Also, good evening for those who choose in Real Entertainment Network and choose to listen to us on this weekend, the beginning of the weekend on a Friday evening. I mean, you could be doing any other thing at your leisure, but you choose to find the time and spend with us, so we greatly appreciate that and never take this thing for granted. Also want to thank those who keep coming out at Manso's Last Stop and Kinko Legacy. A lot to big up the cook, the chef in the house, and the one who hold on the kitchen and the shop, Amanis, and her sister Aisha come out on the weekends and help out also, and the one in the Sasha also contribute her part, and I'm in the back and holding down the farm, so we all work together as a team. It's all about keeping my uncle legacy. Many of us tend not to hold up the family legacy and just tend to let people fade away, and that is not good, especially when it comes to in the agriculture sector. The farmers, as Asher said, the fisher folks, all those are our heroes, but then tend to underlook. But all of us have to eat because our fuel, whether it's gasoline, whether you use diesel, our food is that. And without that, we don't exist. And the type of food we eat is more healthier and more strong and everything, and live a more active and longer life. So we should really invest more in the agricultural sector as a people, and it seems like we're not doing that. So I just want to give thanks for all those who come out on a daily basis and support, and we greatly appreciate that. I also want to say big up to all those who came out and support the Mango Festival. Started what was with the fun, the part, the mixologist competition, and the tug of wars, and the mango tasting that I usually take part. And also there was mango blind taste test, some games and stuff like that. And was got to big up the folks from Antigua, the folks coming down from Trinidad, Barbados, all over we had from Miami, Texas. Just a lot of people just come here for the Mango Festival. So it shows it have gone to a standard where all the activities need just to have a bigger space. Cause that's just the reality. Cause that's people just came over from and people come to get mangoes, taste mangoes. They just love mangoes. So I wanna say thanks to all those who come out and who I meet and come around. We are doing the tasting and stuff like that. Meet some beautiful people who are here in the island, and the tourism department is doing a beautiful thing. It's been going on for a while, and this is the 12th year. So I just want to say big up to the whole team from under Greg Hartman and up into to this new CEO and the whole staff with Faye and Julie and all and stuff. I mean, even the background. What you don't see is the fulfillment, but there's a lot of moving parts to get these things done, a lot of frustration, a lot of this. But at the end of the day, everybody are professionals and they hold it down, and that is what counts. Outside what goes on, and that's the same thing with any big event. So I just want to say thanks for all those who came out to Nevis, just to enjoy it. And tomorrow is another event where they'll go on to different restaurants, small restaurant in the community, and do tasting of their foods, and then ended up by the Heritage Village, where I myself will also be there on the tent, just displaying some mangoes, probably sell a few mangoes, different varieties, but then I still have to save up mangoes for the event for the Sunday, which is the grand event, which is expected over 7,000 people. So, and this is within the dry season where the mango came in earlier and then just fall off. So I'm just so happy to network with so much people. That's why I'm able to still know where so much of these large varieties and small varieties. So appreciate all those homeowners and all those others who contributed and always look forward for my call and who never say no and stuff like that. So greatly appreciated, and all those who come. Also, before I go, I got to big up my boy Rapso. Big up yourself. Rapso came in here on vacation and came in and step up. I usually do this event by myself, no one to chip in and stuff. Everybody want to line and do different stuff. So you see me by myself. But today was a different time in all the years I've been doing it with a virgin come through and just hold on the fort when I'm being called to do something else. I look over, I sweat by, I say, what? So it's like I don't even have to shop or just say, Raps could deal with this vibe. But it was really great. It was his first mango event and he enjoyed that experience. So Raps himself, and tomorrow he and the team again coming out and so forth. And he enjoyed it. He made so much people. Yes, and he just like just watching and observing and stuff like that. And he was just actually a part of it. So and that was a good feeling, having a virgin around and chipping in and just doing his thing where you could just fall back anything else and you don't have to be running back and forth. So it was cool. So tonight, our guest is Mr. Parry, and definitely looking forward for his reasoning. Mr. Parry, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Good night to you, Bankie. Good night, Tafari.
Yeah, good night.
It's good.
And yes, what I'm gonna do, Mr. Parry, for the benefit of the listening public. This is not just a St. Kitts Nevis platform; it's a global platform, and so there's, even though a lot of people may know you, in the local realm of things, there's a lot of people who still might not know a little bit of who we are speaking with this evening. So we would have did a little bio that we're gonna share with the listening public, and then we'll give you an opportunity after we go through that for you to maybe add or correct anything that we would have highlighted, and then give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, and then we get into some of the topics that we have. So this evening with us, Joseph Parry is a former Premier of Nevis who served from 2006 to 2013, and he remains one of the island's most recognizable political figures. He's a long-time public servant with deep experience in division governance, public administration, and island development. This evening, we welcome to the program, and we are honored to have with us the Honorable Joseph Parry, former Premier of Nevis, a respected statesman and former public servant who has played a significant role in the political developmental life of the island. His experience and perspective make him an important voice in today's conversation about Nevis's future. And with that brief, and I know I could have had a lot more colorful information to highlight it, but I wanted to be at least brief enough so that we have more time to go through, the questions and give the listening public an opportunity to hear from you, because I know that there's a lot of people out there who do anticipate hearing your voice and who are accustomed to hearing you on the platform back in the day and look forward to this engagement, as I would have seen that based on me posting the ad out there and so on, and people even putting their questions out from early and so on, and encouraging me to make sure that I ask you challenging questions and so on. But anyway, I'm going to give you that opportunity now to introduce yourself. So, good evening, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much to both of you and to your listening public. Here in Nevis, St. Kitts, and all over the Caribbean, and as far away as England and North America. Yes, it's a pleasure to be in your program, and you have said who I am. I used to be a permanent secretary on Nevis. Used to work at Social Security, was a teacher at the Charlestown Secondary School for many years. Was a Minister of Government in St. Kitts between 1989 and 1995, and was Premier, as you said, of Nevis between 2006 to 2013. So I've been around the circle, and here I am now, a retired person. One item, somebody sent me a picture today of the tribute to Farrakhan's wife, and interestingly enough, there was a picture of myself and Mrs. Farrakhan at the Four Seasons. I was very surprised to see it, but I felt very proud too that I can be associated with Farrakhan and his wife. My understanding is that he has connections with St. Kitts and Nevis, and I think both of you realize that he's a great man and a man of great distinction.
Yes. I think from my research, his mother is from St. Kitts and Nevis, and his father is from Jamaica. So he's that closely connected to the federation that he is. So yes.
Yeah, and I understand his grandmother is from Nevis.
Okay.
When I met with him, he was talking about petitions and divisions working together. He was talking about unity, etc., etc. That was his focus at that particular time. You know, what he was making the point that Black people need to be united rather than divided, because there's so many challenges out there in the world, and you can only succeed if you're pushing in the same direction, rather than people opposing each other and going in different directions at the same time.
So that's how I met with him. Quite interesting hearing that from you, who would have been very much active in a system that we consider to be very much rooted in divisiveness, in the sense of the sort of politics that were, and I could still say very much so, still being played out in our society. So your thoughts on that perspective?
Well, I would say that we have inherited a system from the British where you have a two-party system, opposing parties. But the system does not have to always be in opposition. People, human beings, can cooperate. You can discuss, you can disagree, and you can get along. And at times, you can agree that whatever is being done by both parties is good enough. The example I will use is the Second World War in Britain. Britain had different parties working together to fight the Second World War. And when one prime minister felt that he couldn't do the job, he stepped down and had Winston Churchill from another party become the prime minister. And they all worked together until the end of the Second World War. I'm not advising that you should only come together in crisis. People need to be reasonable. And I would say that Malcolm Gishard and I were able to work together, disagree, remain friends, and think about the best interests of Nevis. I use him as an example because I taught him at school, and we always got along, whether we were on one side or the other. In fact, he even asked me to join CCM, and of course I did not.
Quite interesting bit of political history, and I guess this is why people are looking forward to this discourse, because they're gonna hear things that they probably never heard before, and or if they did, it's gonna be some refresher. Looking back at your time in public office, what stands out most to you about your years in leadership?
If you talk about being because there are different phases. As
Okay.
a civil servant, what impressed me, and unfortunately I'll say this, is that the Kitishan was more respective of authority and more willing to behave in a particular structured way. The Nevision was very individualistic and very hard to control, and sometimes could be very disrespectful when there was no need for that. That bothered me during that time up until today. I think I understand the background why it happened, but that comes to mind right away. The other thing is, and this is a positive thing now, is that divisions are very creative, and if they're given a chance, they can be very outstanding. I saw that when I was there as a minister and when I was there as premier. I think of people like Lime, Randy, people like Sunshine, like the Islander, your sponsor there, Perkins, people who have been given a chance and who have become very powerful and very important in our society. And I refer to them because I was instrumental in some way or the other in working with those people. Um, I look at the arts that has been created by certain people on the roadside or the craft work, etc. And I'm very proud to see that creativity. And of course, divisions have been very resilient. They, they always survive. Even when things are bad and they're down, they get up and they move on. Divisions have done very well abroad. And I would really be happy if divisions from abroad will come back and go to the schools and the community centers and let people know what they have achieved, how they have achieved, and be an example to our young people that they too can achieve. I think it is very important at this time. It's very critical at this time. I speak as an individual and I speak as a black man. It is amazing that we do not know our history. We do not know the achievements that have been done by black people all over the world. And sometimes we base our history on Europe, which does not really help us and does not make too much sense. And in terms of our own history, it's all about coming from Africa and the slave ship, working on the plantation and being beaten, etc. But the positive side, the constructive side, the creative side is not emphasized, and we need to emphasize it.
You know, Mr. Parry, you said earlier, you said a bit earlier that you worked as a civil servant, and I remember when I asked the question that I asked just a moment ago, you said it depends on how far I want to take it back to. Um,
Mhm.
it seemed based on what you said, because you said it sounded like you said you were working back in the 70s in St. Kitts. That's what you said.
No, I worked as a teacher from 1972 until
Mm-hmm.
1978. I worked at
Okay.
Social Security as manager. I putting together the Social Security system in Nevis from 78 to 1980. From 1980 to 1987, yes, I served as the permanent secretary. From 1980 to 1983, I was the only permanent secretary on the island of Nevis. I had to put together an administration from nothing because there was no administration. I worked with a gentleman from Nevis, but who was permanent secretary in St. Kitts, Sussex Mills, who did the financial part for me while I put together the framework for the civil service. After independence, I became permanent secretary to the Premier until 1987, when I became a minister. Went into politics, won my seat in 1987, and became a minister of agriculture until we lost in 1992. From 1992 to 2006, I was in opposition in Nevis, but I was a minister in St. Kitts from 1989 until 1995.
Mm, okay. So it's in that era you worked on St. Kitts. Okay.
Yes.
Was there any, apart from you mentioned the difference in terms of the respect for structure and so on in St. Kitts, how do you compare the working in the civil service in St. Kitts versus working in the civil service on Nevis during the time that you had?
Well, I didn't actually work in the civil service in St. Kitts. I attended meetings,
Oh, okay.
seminars, etc. And they would have been far more organized than we were because they had a long history of operating a civil service. We had nothing. So we had to start from the beginning. We had to do seminars, we had to do training, people had to learn how to be responsible. Um, I can say, however, Nivision learned very quickly. And between 1983 and 1992, I think we did an excellent job. Now, it might seem to you that I'm being biased, but I can't speak about what happened between 1992 and 2006 because I was not able to be part of the system. I can only speak about when I was involved in the system. And people work very hard. Um, I can speak of Marjorie Morton, who is very much alive today still, and Elmo Libert, who worked with me in the early days, where we actually ran Nevis. And you had the local council headed by Mr. Ural Swanson and Arthur Evelyn and Newton, Llewellyn Newton worked as the senior civil servant. And we were able to do some work on roads, increase the water supply. We were able to send electricity out of Charlestown around the island, and we were able to light the airport. Of course, I'm saying we, but we have to always remember that Mr. Daniel and Mr. Stevens were the ministers who directed all these different things, and the credit goes to them, of course. But we were the bureaucracy behind the action.
So when you reflect on Nevis today, what gives you the greatest concern and what gives you the greatest hope?
Okay, but the greatest concern for me is that the spirit of citizenship, love for Nevis, belief in yourself as a black person, the pride of being in charge of yourself, giving direction where the government should go or where the country should go. I don't sense it in the younger generation. maybe life has become too easy. In our days, it was hard. They seem to more involved in the material things. Sometimes you try to engage them, they're not interested. They, in fact, for them, politics is something they don't want to have anything to do with. I remember I went to vote at 21 because in those days, you could not vote until you were 21. The day I was 21, on the 7th of July, I went and registered because I wanted to be able to vote. I wanted to be able to make a difference on the island of Nevis. When I was in sixth form from 1965 to 1967, I spent a lot of time talking politics. I was in St. Kitts, of course, the grammar school. It was always discussion about Nevis, always where do you take Nevis in terms of development, etc. I don't find that people have that kind of interest any longer. So that is the part that I would really like to change. And what's the other part? The other part you asked about?
What is your greatest hope?
The hope for me is that we, the people of Nevis, will understand that our destiny is in our hands. And we must not look to anybody outside of St. Kitts and Nevis to direct our destiny. Because all
No
we'll
pun
be
intended?
doing,
Destiny, no pun intended?
oh, no pun. and I cannot and I deliver the pun. I want to say
Go ahead, like
no,
moment.
know your history. Because if a man who does not know his roots is determined to make mistake after mistake. No multi-millionaire, no billionaire is going to save you. They didn't get rich by being honest. They didn't get rich by following procedure. They got rich by breaking the rules, by trampling on people. And if you give them a chance, they'll trample you again. You look at what's happening in the United States of America, and you see what's happening to poor people, white, brown, and black. You see what's happening to them. And you hear that Mr. Trump has made over $1 billion, even though he's president of America. And it tells you what you need to avoid. You need to avoid those kinds of people and focus on yourself, on development. And if you're going to have an investor means anybody, black, white, brown, whatever, make sure that you understand they're in it for profit. So you must be in it for your profit as well. And things will go well.
Okay, Mr. Parry, and I want to piggyback and to start back how you spoke very well as a historian and stuff like that. But I was born in the late 70s, 77, so I grew up in the 80s. So in those times, I remember it was the few areas where we'll get water from and stuff like that. Then after the full season came and different stuff, then you know how much light was in the village and the water truck used to come around. But the infrastructure itself was what was the purpose? And then there was some thought about where there was, I think, a link with the University of Miami or something like that when it come to educating the teachers and stuff like that. And all others was sent to train because setting up the civil service, which I seem that was done under when NRPF joined with the PAM, where they had to set up the infrastructure of the Nevis NIA and stuff like that. So what we see now as we cover this, most of the infrastructure was put in place. I want to speak on that. And after when you were in as the minister, not really minister, the premier, I know there are different projects that you guys worked on, especially the improvement of water. I could remember when you all when NRPL get into power, there was a bad situation when it comes to electricity at times. And then that was improved, and so I got a big up Carty Farrell, and he was put in place to manage Nevlec, and you could tell the big difference from that. Everybody could have give applause to that. So, and that is, even the blind can see that. But I know there was something to do with the water project. I know the Premier Speaker and the water project and stuff like that. Cause I know under your watch there was something with CBD, other stuff like that. And also the land policy, because what we're seeing here happening now under Destiny and the proposed project and stuff like that, and the secret, I can hear people talk about, I mean, I've interacted with a lot of farmers and people who bought land in the 80s, and they always speak well of the NRP, even though they support the CCM government in the yellow show, that always speak and say how they get land to buy at a very, when they living in St. Martin. They came up on half acre over in Prospect and different areas. So those are the things I wanted to speak on, because this is going to take us up where the Nevisian who own their land, can I speak a little bit, Kitchen friend, they're always amazed their size of land Nevis have and envious up here. You know, we're at a point where we're about to easily give it our land. And for one, we others who are not from here to speak of history, go and believe in duty free, no tax, nothing. I mean, from when we come to such a brilliant people and now give away what we have, what was put in place by people like you and others. So these are the things speaking, coming up to where we are now, because what we is that we're losing our island. As you said, it's not about the young people no more. Also, is the elders, some of them doing this, is who doing these things. So if you can say it's a mindful, if the young people can realize, well, why are you selling out your country? That's will still have no interest. So the love have to come from those we put to manage the island same way. I remember again when you were the minister of the premier. I remember when you connect Barnesgard and Jessup. And I remember also where a lot was said where you spend too much money and building all these community centers and all this craziness. And it blew my mind when people speak like that. Because at the same time, Mr. Army was not spending the money. He was very slow doing. So the Nevis was at a stand. I pay attention to my environment. And then I can make comparison as an educated person, not book sense, but common sense. When I speak and say educated. This is what observe when you were the leader compared to Mr. Amri and all this different stuff like that. So, and why now we're at fighting a battle about destiny, high electricity bills, a slow economy, and all these things as a historian and as an economist. The mic is yours.
Yeah, you have said a mouthful there, Bankie. It's like you wanted to speak for 2 hours, but I won't.
That's fine.
Let's start from the early period. The Nevisians have always valued land. Nevisians have always wanted to own land. In the old days, because sugar yield had fallen in Nevis, the sugarcane industry died, and Nevisians were able to rent lands from the estates. People had small stock like sheep and goats and pigs, and some people had cattle, and basically they mixed that kind of farming with fishing, etc., etc. That is how Nevisians lived. And there was no payday on the island of Nevis. People managed however they could, and of course, some of the younger ones went overseas to England or Canada or the Virgin Islands, and were they able to send remittances home. And that is how Nevisians survived. The situation was very bad in terms of the road structure, water, and electricity. NRP came into government in 1980, led by Mr. Daniel, and right away they began to tackle some of these problems. The airport was lined, they got into government in February of 1980, and by December of 1980, the airport was lighted so that you could have night landings. If you remember when the Christina sank in 1970, the cars had to line up over at the airport for Dr. Simmons to fly in because there were no lights over there. So that's one of the things that Mr. Stevens and Mr. Daniel, or Mr. Daniel and Mr. Stevens did. The Nevis sixth form was started in 1980 up at Bellevue, the area that we call Bellevue, that White House up there. I think some 20-something students started. And the idea was for us to develop our people in Nevis rather than having to go to Barstair, so that they could not only be leaders in the civil service, but they could be professionals in whatever area they wanted to be professionals. The Mr. Daniel established the Nevis Housing Corporation, and he made a statement that every Nevisian should try to own a piece of the rock. And what you found that all the estates around the island, piece was taken off for people to buy at a very cheap rate. Potworks, Martins, you come over to Gingerland, in the Rollins area, in Vovens area, where Mr. Merchant and those people live, and when they're hugging and they lived, lands were made available to people. In Prospect, lands were made available to people. Hamilton. I remember Hamilton very well because there's a story behind that. There's a lady named Eulalie Francis. You remember Eulalie Bankie?
Of course, Susie, ma'am. And a matter of fact, I saw one of your daughter this afternoon. The one who used to read the news.
She was living in Charlestown. And she had a problem. They were renting land. They were living on rented land. And they had a problem with the owner of the land. The owner of the land wanted them to move. And I was the permanent secretary at that time. And sorry, I was the minister at that time, Minister of Lands. And I said to Eulalie, I think you need to go up to Hamilton. Eulalie said, no, we can't go up there too far. Don't want to go up there. And between Yahsonn, Daniel, and myself, and Victor Martin, we established Hamilton Village. So today you have that beautiful village up there, and Eulalie's house is right up there in Hamilton. Those were the kind of things that we were able to do. Establish new communities, establish villages around the island. This happened before we did our big thing over in the Prospect area. This started under Mr. Daniel. In the Rollins village, our time was divided and subdivided. I think it's something like $6,000 per acre. I can't remember the exact price, but land was sold very cheap all around the island. The only area that had a problem, interestingly enough, was St. Thomas's Parish, because you didn't have any government estate in that area. And you know what we had to do? We had to buy land from Paradise at a particular price and sell to the people of Jessup at a cheaper price. We had to make lands available in Catesby for the people of Cotton Ground. And these were the kind of things that we were able to do. We had what we call a land development program, the first in the OECS. We were able as well to make sure that all our children went to secondary school. Nevis was the first island to ensure that every child got exposed to secondary school education. And Mr. Daniel tried to invest in agriculture. They tried to revive the Catesby Co-op, the agricultural co-op in the Catesby area. And I think under Mr. Evelyn, they were trying to organize where they could have long-term lease of land or even purchase land, because the farmers were complaining that they did not want to invest heavily in lands that they could not hold on to or their children would not inherit. So those were the programs that were being established in agriculture. I remember as Minister of Agriculture, when the Four Seasons came, that I insisted that they buy agricultural produce. There was a gentleman from Montreal by the name of Mr. Weeks. He worked with me, I was the minister, to establish a system whereby the agricultural department with its technical people would work with the farmers to stagger their crops we chose a number of crops, not like maybe tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage, or whatever. And we said, these you have to produce all year round. Because the manager of the Four Seasons Hotel, John South, said they will not buy from us if we could not supply every day in the year. And we organized a marketing structure whereby farmers were able to produce and they were able to sell their stuff to the Four Seasons Hotel. That project was so successful that the University of the West Indies took it up and called it the Nevis model. You had, as I mentioned, water, electricity, etc. You had the banking system, whereby Mr. Daniel himself started the Bank of Nevis in 1984. And he encouraged the Bank of Nova Scotia to come to Nevis. He was instrumental in helping the development of the Nevis Credit Union into a kind of quasi-bank, so that people from Nevis could borrow. In those days, gentlemen, if you were not of a certain stature, you couldn't go to the bank and borrow money. In fact, it was even worse than that. Back in 1967, when I left school, only certain persons could work in Barclays Bank. In St. Kitts, it was even worse. You had to be brown skinned to work in a bank in St. Kitts. In Nevis, it was not bad, but only certain persons could work there. And only certain persons could borrow money. Most people used to have to go to the Nevis Cooperative Bank. Mr. Daniel was able to establish the Bank of Nevis with help to develop the home. So he provided land, he provided finance, and then when you had the Four Seasons opening, he provided jobs so people could build their own homes, get their own cars, send their children to school, send their children abroad. All these things happened in the early days. In fact, I always share this joke. Before the Four Seasons opened, there was no work for women. Some women in Nevis never worked in their life. When the Four Seasons opened, I think they employed close to 700 people. The leading workers were women. You know what that did? It created a social problem on the island. I wonder if you can guess what the problem was. Women who had lived with men for many years and taken abuse from them immediately got rid of their boyfriends and moved on with their lives. That was, to me, a positive thing. One of the negative things is that people who were churchgoers could no longer go to church regularly. And that, to me, led to the decline of the attendance to church, etc., etc. But that is what was done between 1980 and 1992. Those are some of the highlights. Now, Bankie, you asked about the education. What happened? There was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Moore from a university in Miami. I don't remember the name right now. But we decided two things. That we wanted people with degrees to be the head of primary school, not just secondary schools. And we wanted to create a cadre of people with a business background who could start their own businesses or who could go into the upper levels of management in businesses in Nevis. And so you had a university branch established here on the island of Nevis, and some 20-something persons were able to graduate with degrees from a top university in Florida in education. Another 20-something were able to graduate with administrative degrees in business, and they were able to branch out in the various sectors of the economy to drive the economy forward. That is what you're talking about there, about the education system. In fact, we were the first to do that. And many persons thought that at first criticized what we were doing, only to afterwards copy and try to do the same thing in their islands. Now, that system died after the government change in 1992, and it has never been started again. To me, it was unfortunate because not everybody can go abroad, and not everybody has the money to go abroad to study, and you could have stayed right here. However, unfortunately, you now have the internet. You now have remote education where people can stay at home and study and train themselves in various fields and get their degrees, etc. Now, one of the things that we focus on was that not everybody needed to have a degree, but you needed to have people who were technically trained. People, whether they repair television sets or radios, whether they were in the area of refrigeration, whether they were in electricity, whatever. We realized that it was important to have technicians who can make the country run, trained, properly trained, and who can organize a business, who have some business knowledge to develop their own businesses. And so we trained people along those lines. I wouldn't call names, but a number of persons benefited under the St. Daniel NRP regime. So that is what happened there. Now, I think it touched on what happened between 2006 and 2013. That was a different situation. I became premier then, and two things happened. We had a Hurricane Omar, which destroyed Four Seasons, and we had a major recession worldwide caused by the money people in the United States of America. And the Four Seasons was bankrupt. Nevisians, up to now, I don't think Nevisians know or accept that the Four Seasons was bankrupt. And we had to do a number of things to ensure that the Four Seasons was revived. Patrice Nesbitt, who was the Attorney General in St. Kitts, was able to help us via Prime Minister Douglas, like I spoke directly to Douglas, to ensure that the Four Seasons remained open, that it continued here. The owners of the Four Seasons wanted to shut it down. In the end, they paid $1 and disappeared. They didn't want it. And so the Four Seasons operators who in those days didn't really own hotels, took over the Four Seasons. They were able to use the insurance money from the hurricane damage to repair it, to put it back on its feet, and then to get people from the Middle East to invest in the Four Seasons. And this is why we have the Four Seasons today. In fact, one Four Seasons man from Toronto spoke to the workers and told them, if it was not for Joseph Parry, there would have been no Four Seasons on the island of Nevis. But because he was able to give support to the Four Seasons organization in Toronto, they were able to hold on to the Four Seasons and the name Four Seasons, because the owner who sold it for $1 wanted to change the name completely and get rid of the Four Seasons Management Concern. So that is why we have the Four Seasons today still, because of that action. When we had the recession and people were out of work, we did a number of things. We established a package, an economic package to keep people working. We established community centers. Now, you said you were criticized for establishing community centers. The community centers serve two purposes. The first purpose was to create work, so that people, you did not feel the negative effects of the recession. So the first positive effect was to create work. But the second thing, we realized that our children were weak in English and mathematics. And so the community centers were supposed to be there to shore up our young people by having night classes in mathematics and in English. But to do more than that, to have creative things, whether you wanted to form a choir, whether you wanted to have a dramatic body, whether you wanted to have recreation, whether you wanted to have training in the various villages. That was the purpose of those community centers. And the man who could have delivered that was Hensley Daniel, because that is what he was trained in. But of course, we lost the government, and that program died. There was another program. We realized that we had gangs, criminal gangs on the island, and we decided we had to solve the problem. And what we worked out, we would take somebody from Rollins, somebody from Bath, somebody from Cotton Brown, somebody from Newcastle, and bring them together and send them to Trinidad as a group. Put them in a foreign country. Put them in a hostile environment so that they'll be forced to work together to survive and to learn a skill. Today, we have several persons who graduated from Trinidad who are outstanding technicians in St. Kitts and Nevis because of that program. So I feel very proud of the thing that we did. And of course, we established that beautiful village over there in the Prospect area, led by Mr. Hector and Eustace Nisbet, one of the best projects for people who are not very rich. People who are not very rich. And we established roads, we built houses, we had a recreation area, and it's there today as one of the achievements of the Nevis Reformation Party. So we have very good reason to be proud. We serve the people of the country. One of my disappointments was when the Four Seasons started to clean up and so on. I insisted that they employ Nevisians first. And even Nevisians criticized me. I was very disappointed. Because wherever you go, whether Anguilla, Montserrat, British Virgin Islands, US Virgin Islands, their people always get the first preference. I am a Caribbean man, and I embrace all Caribbean people. I don't have any problems with that. But I can't go to the BVI and be treated like a belanger down there. They won't accept that. The only place a Nevisian can be number one is in his own country. And I was very disappointed. The second disappointment was when the head of the Four Seasons Hotel, the manager, raised government taxes and held on to the taxes. I would not turn them over to the government. Said he wanted to determine how the taxes collected by the Four Seasons would be spent. I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to deal with this man. And a Friday night, I went to Fountain Village, Tafari, you're from over there. A Friday night, I went over by Trevor's shop, and I launched an attack on him. And by Monday, the money was in the treasury. The people of St. Kitts lifted me up. The people of Nevis said I was threatening their jobs. I was a bit disappointed. And these are the kind of things that we have to teach our people, how to stand together, how to put trust in their leaders and not to be led astray when their leaders try to help them and protect them. We are at this point again. And I have to be very careful here. I don't know that I can trust the leadership in government right now to lead the people of Nevis correctly. But there are leaders in the community who can lead. And I am hoping that people come forward and be able to give direction to Nevis again, because the people of Nevis must own Nevis, every inch of Nevis. And when I say the people of Nevis, I must embrace the Guyanese, the Dominicans, the Jamaicans, the Dominicanos as all part of us. We all black people, brown people, and so on. And we have some friends here, expats, who are not troubling us, not doing us any harm. Don't have any problem with them. I have a problem with the billionaires who don't respect anybody.
Mr. Parry, you have said a mouthful, and I know a lot of you said I didn't know, and that's why I asked this information, because I give you a chance to speak of your legacy and what do you know as a historian and been in the environmental work through the civil service and all you have done. So we are at a point, a crossroad where you have some are for Team Destiny, which is Team Jesus, and some are for, and some are on the other side with Team Barabbas. What happened now with road?
The pardon?
What happened at this crossroad now with this project where you have billionaires who will be coming into the island? It is this proposed
Listen,
project where no taxes is going to be paid, no taxes. So I want to see how Nevision just up and Kitishon just a point where no taxes gonna be paid, where they can go
Bankie,
in. Just that alone, they can't pay no tax. Yes,
Bankie, I
yes, son.
think, right? I think,
Mhm.
right, it is 9 o'clock now. I think you'll be a
The
good point.
technician said the technician said 9:15. I was
Oh,
talking
okay.
to the technician, so he's gonna show this time when he's ready. So that's why I just get into this. That when
Okay.
the time come, we can
I don't know,
just.
I know that a question like that would deserve a lengthy
Of
answer, so
course.
I would do
Well,
social break first and then come back. But
yes,
then,
we're gonna go.
if we got 15 minutes,
I
okay,
will
Mr. Parry,
I will
continue.
by 9:50. I finish answering by 9:50.
Yes,
Now, I want to I want to I want us to look very closely at the project. The first question is, can any Nevision properly explain to me what the project is about? And I'm going to answer myself, the answer is no. Why can't they? Because the project has never been properly explained to the people of Nevis. How can you support something that you don't know anything about? All you have been told is jobs, jobs, jobs. What kind of jobs? What kind of did anybody stop to ask what kind of jobs? I understand that 30,000 people, 30,000 rich people are going to come into Nevis. And some 5,500 of them are going to will be workers. And maybe 500 divisions would be used for working. I understand that there's going to be this wall that separates us from them. And they can come into the Nevis in and out as they like. I suppose they're going to use the airport and so on. But we have to be escorted in and escorted out. Is this what we want? Is this development? If they're going to bring all these workers, what are these jobs that we're going to get? Our young girls who have degrees or who went to sixth form, they're going to be able to go over there and sit down in an office and be an accountant or operate IT. Are they going to be able to be supervisors? No, those are not the jobs for them. Those are not the jobs for them. They might have a degree, but they might have to clean in the kitchen if they even allowed to be in the kitchen. Or they might have to work in the garden if they're going to be allowed to be in the garden. They might not even be allowed to be in the garden. So the idea that Nevis would benefit doesn't make any sense. And now I come to your point, Bankie. It is not a development. It is not a hotel development. It is a settlement. Like in the days of Thomas Warner, and it is a settlement. That's what it is. And so how this settlement when Nevis can hardly go, where you have this big dividing wall, is gonna make Nevis benefit. How that is gonna bring money to us. And then come to your point. They're not gonna pay any taxes. They're not gonna pay any dues. They're gonna have their own port. They're gonna have their own restaurants. They're gonna have their own hospitals. I suppose they're gonna have their own schools. They're gonna have their own laws because the laws that they are going to put together are supposed to be incorporated by the federal government, will become part of the laws of Nevis and St. and Nevis. So when you would have done with that, how would your children and my grandchildren and all of us children benefit? We would be no better off. The country would be no better off. And here they're saying that you will get some percentage of the profit. Now let's look at this. I just told you the Four Seasons was broke in 2006. You think any of these hotels in these islands, in St. Kitts and Nevis, or in Antigua, or in Barbados, do you think they show a profit? You think they ever show a profit? Why they don't show a profit if they're so profitable? And why is it after 20 years they're turned over, new people buy them? Because they get all kind of concessions, and every 20 years they want concessions. And these people just doing a settlement and get all the concessions. So they're not going to pay anything. And when you come to the accounting now, they have creative accounting. They will always demonstrate that there is no money. So 5% of naught is what? Naught. 10% of naught is naught. So when a politician comes and says, we are going to get 5%, they shouldn't do it. Because history is there to prove that it does not happen. These people are not going to give you any money. They're exploiters. They're going to take. They're not going to give. They're not going to give. And those who want to fool themselves can fool themselves. I had to speak to somebody the other day because the person is saying, what is NRP's program? I said to myself, you're talking about NRP's program right now? When is a referendum you're having? Because anyhow, CCM win the election, they're going to say they get a mandate from the people to move ahead with destiny. It is going to be a referendum. It is going to be a referendum. Do you have destiny? Yes. Or do you have destiny? No. Don't worry with the building up by the hospital. Don't worry about the airport thing, because that I feel very embarrassed the way it is being done. Don't worry about the little painting up and sound. Those are two bloody minds of Nevis people. And say, we're working for you. We're doing a great job. The idea is to get them to vote and return them so that they can bring destiny forward. Because how, if NRP, a CCM is elected and Mark is the premier again, how can Joe stand in his way? What right does Joe stand in his way? The people of Nevis have spoken. They have given a mandate to go ahead. You follow what I'm saying? You follow what I'm saying? That this is what is actually happening. It is deception of the worst. It is the disrespect of the people of Nevis.
But Mr. Parry, my thing is, we here as the natives, we have to pay tax to development of our own island. So I know there's something we are foreseeing. Some of the I'm not sure, I stand to be corrected, where the condos and stuff like that, do they pay taxes or they don't? Because I don't see why we are. Go ahead.
That's one of the reasons why I lost. Because the way the Four Seasons turned against me between 2011 and 2013, because I was insisting that the condo owners and the home owners had gotten enough concession, and it was time that they pay. And people don't like to pay.
So presently, this is existing, and these is things why I don't understand why we tend to speak and say we are so educated, we are so this, and people are going to be upset. You're paying taxes when $30 million homes at Four Seasons on a golf course, nah pay none, and now next 10,000 families are going to come, nah pay none. Well, we got a problem with that, and I will always have a problem with that. Okay, you don't want to.
You should have a problem with Nevis. Allowing it to happen. I mean,
no. Wait. Where you just said have a problem with who? Wait, who have a problem with who? Wait. I want Mr. Parry to say so again. Who used to have a problem with?
With Nevis people who are allowing it to happen.
All right.
I'm not calling any names. I'm not calling you
That is
name,
simple,
but
my friend. That is just as simple as it is. We are the problem. We are the natives, and we allow it to be manipulated and put in people who we put to develop our country and trust them to do these things. And look what we're happening now. We're having the discussion.
Bankie, here's one of the things that I have a challenge with, right? Because I'm hearing you, I'm hearing Mr. Parry, and I'm hearing a lot of the sorry, the different areas and aspects of society that we look up to, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's civil society, all speaking in relation to their disapproval and are not willing to work along with this destiny proposal. My difficulty is I'm hearing Mr. Parry saying, well, if he gets elected again, then he would say that is the mandate of the people. Okay. My challenge is, Mr. Parry, why is it that, as you mentioned, we are allowing this, something the people are allowing it to happen? And if it is to happen, here is the dilemma that I have. And I see a similar scenario in the Honduras model, so to speak, because the Honduras would have had a similar, it's not the SSZ, I think they call it something else, SEZ or EEZ or something different, but it's a
what is the
similar,
legislative?
well, it's a similar system. But what happened was the government that was in power at the time was for the project, and they allowed the project to go ahead. And then shortly after, they would have had elections, and the government that came in now was not for the project and opted to stop the project. And then the company sought to sue the government and then have the government in litigation for billions of dollars that is now going to be on the, if not appealed and so on, the taxpayers are going to have to share that burden. I'm putting that scenario because here is it that is something that is a risk that I don't think is highlighted or discussed enough. And I think that is one of the reasons why there might be a snap election or push election for this thing to happen. Because when I look at these things, I put myself in the investor's shoes as well. Because as an investor, I am coming in to invest billions, and an election is imminent in a year time. I would want a little bit more security than a year, at least even 5 years, to get my investment through. So I would want to know, especially seeing the pushback here, that the opposition is not for it. Then we run a risk of, for example, if this is done before, and then let's say there's an election, and then whoever comes in is not approval of it, then we run a risk of maybe a similar situation was going on with the prison project, even though it's not a good project on St. Kitts, because you don't tie up in these things. So what are your thoughts in relation to that aspect of it? The risk that we have in that scenario?
Here are my thoughts. I look at the situation. I look at the situation in St. Nevis, and it's quite plain to me that the federal government is preparing for an election this year. It is also quite plain to me that Mark Brantley, led by the CCM, has decided he'll have an election, a Nevis election before the federal election this year. And that will be his mandate. So you won't have the position that you're outlining, whereby government changes and you have this suit. What I expect to happen is that a lot of money is going to be available for a political party to buy an election on the island of Nevis. And I want to see if Nevisians are going to allow themselves to be bought. Look, I drove to Bath tonight and I saw all kind of paint. I drove to the countryside in Gingerland and see tar on the road. I hear about this airport thing and so on. I hear about the thing about the hospital. I look at how little things are being patched here and there. I look at the various things that are being done, and I look at politicians who start to walk the road, who want to walk in and so on. And I said, and election is around the corner. I see people going to church who never used to go to church. I went to Barnes, got to look at the Breadfruit Fest. I see two girls there playing dominoes, doing nothing but domino. I said, yes, all the signs are there of a snap election. I want to see if the people of Nevis are going to be fooled. I want to see. Now, I'm going to advance. I'm going to give you some information.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 years, I had 10 acres of land over on the peninsula, over Cox Heath. Me and my first wife bought those lands.
Mr.
So
Parry,
she's
I want you
dead.
to stop. I want you to stop there before we get into this. Let me get into the break. You take a chance, and then we come back into this discussion. A technician, I think we can go into the break now, and because this is gonna go into overdrive. So before we get
I'm
into
not
the
saying
overdrive,
I
let
have
me
to get
take a
another.
break, and then we. Yes, so we'll
Uh,
take a break. You'll just the technician will get out. So you don't have to do nothing. You just stay right there, don't do nothing, and then we're gonna just come
Could I
back. So
move
technician,
on?
when,
Could I
yeah,
move
you could
Or
move
you
and
can
come
move
back
and
once you
come
take
back,
the
yes.
break.
When you
Yes,
come up
yes,
with your
that's
gun,
fine.
yes, you can go and get some tea
on?
Yes,
or some water or
Yeah, let me
whatever
just.
and wipe your face and come back.
yes.
Yeah. Ribs of the world. Topics. Bankie, Yahsonn.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat. Come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. You can come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Man's Last Stop. A whole shopping bag only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
And we are back. Yes, we are back with the second segment of this evening's show. We want to say thanks to all of you who are in with us, logged in and glued in with us. We want to thank you for all of you who are commenting on the Facebook wall and the YouTube platform. We want to encourage you, wherever you are, subscribe, like, share. If you're on Facebook, go on over to the YouTube, take 10 seconds, subscribe to our YouTube platform. We wanted to build the algorithms on there. The more you like it, the more you share it, the more you subscribe, the more people get to see what we're doing, the more people get to be more informed on what's happening here on Real Entertainment Network. We were having a very, very engaging discussion with Honorable Joseph Parry, and we cut him in the middle of giving some very, very vital information. So this was kind of like Bankie, soap opera style. When you're watching them soap opera back in the days, you got the sweet part, and you stop it right there, and they go on commercial break, so you're there glued to the TV because you want to come back to see what happens after. So, folks, here is what we want to do as well. We want to also, we're going to give Mr. Parry an opportunity to respond. There are a number of questions and so on that I have also to continue with, but we also want a bit of your involvement. So we're going to give you also an opportunity to call in and ask some questions and weigh in on the discussion so far. Because a lot of people out there, Mr. Parry, even before I got on here this evening, I did some posts, and a lot of people have questions out there that they want me to ask and so on. So I want some of them to get the opportunity to ask it themselves, and then I would try to get in as the conversation continue. So I hope you remembered where we stopped off, and so that you could continue. Okay, wonderful. So let's let the soap opera continue then. Click.
Yeah,
continue.
But I was saying, gentlemen, that my first wife and I, many years ago, and she died in 1996, bought 10 acres of land over there. So half of that 10 acres really belonged to my children. But I found myself in a situation, not personal really, and I can't say exactly what the situation was, that I needed to dispose of the land so that I could deal with a matter that had to do with somebody, some organization in which I had some involvement. And after being called for 2 years, I decided to sell the land. I made a contractual arrangement for 12 months and with a deposit of 10% for the sale of the land. The period ended on the 7th of June. The people called me and offered me 25,000 US per month for 12 months and something or the other. I refused.
Okay, just to be clear, Mr. Parry, what are we speaking about? We're speaking about the Destiny area, the area where the proposed project is. We're talking about. So I just want to make sure. Coxie, that is on the south side where the project's supposed to be. So you had land, you're going to sell the land.
I was selling the land to deal with the
okay,
matter.
cool. Just making, okay. So at least those
I was not aware
in the area.
Of Destiny. I was not aware. I should have asked questions. I didn't ask enough questions. So I made the arrangement for 12 months. And at the 12 months, the contract lapsed because the payment was not made. And that deal is dead. That's the sacrifice that I have made. The land belongs to me. I keep my land. So I know that this and that went on the radio and said Joseph Parry got lands over there. He could have only found out that because he was told so by somebody in Mr. Brantley's office. He didn't know that himself. So I would hope that this and that will now say that that contract is dead. And I have made the sacrifice of not selling my land in the interest of the people of Nevis. My children agree with me that they will forfeit the amount for the land to be sold for whatever reason. Now the land is back in my hands and they can have their portion at the appropriate time. But I'm telling you this tonight to say that I was prepared to make a sacrifice. Because when I found out who were going to own the land and what they intended to do, I could not stomach that. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. But it was against all the principles I believe in. All that I have spoken about, our black heritage, our black pride, our black identity, being a division, I couldn't handle it. And I hope other people in Nevis feel the same way that I feel.
Yahsonn, at this time, we're going to open the lines. Anyone want to call in? This is opportunity for you to call in and any question here for Mr. Parry. But Mr. Parry, so now, well, I guess this is going to change the whole thing about this size of the zone now, because now
It's only
you're not going to sell the land. Yes, but still, I mean, that would have to come off because then the proposal is gone. But my thing is, as you said, and did much research. Well, I guess a lot of other people did, but now they know. Some may still want to go, but this is we're in a bad place. And anyone would have told me that our people have come to this point and bring some kind of development. The people of Nevis have no issue when it comes to development, but this kind of development is very. We have a call coming here. Yes, and we'll take this call. Caller, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Bankie. Good evening, Yahsonn.
I'm good. And you?
And good evening, Mr. Parry. I'm awfully proud of you for what you've done as it relates to reclaiming your land and rescinding the contract with Destiny. I'm really proud of you. It's a magnanimous thing that you have done, and people should be proud of what you do, and I'm sure, hopefully, people will take example and use your example, rather, what you've done as an example of goodwill and at least looking out for the people. Like I said to someone today who has lands in the area, I say money is infinite. The numbers are infinite, but character is not, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you can have all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, it's about people and it's about how you affect lives. And Mr. Parry, again, I'm proud of you. This is Glenda Herbert. Anyway, I just called in to state that we'll be having a match. Civil society is going to be putting on a match. And the match is going to be on July 10th. Starts at Alexander Hamilton Museum, all the way to Reliable and back. Civil society holds the center of the country as far as I'm concerned, and most countries are. How countries are looked at. There is government, there's the business sector, and there's civil society. The civil society involves all the philanthropic groups, all the charity groups of the country, from the church all the way through. And basically, we are putting on a match after, a long crying or a long ask by the people to do a match. Finally, I think it's appropriate, and I think it's the time to do it. Based on what I know is happening, which I can't really get into and disclose, but I think it's the right time to do it. And so we have stepped up and decided to do it. I hope that everybody comes out and, whatever groups you're from, all political stripes, no matter where you come out, all business stripes come out. It doesn't matter what sector that you are in. You are protected here in this match. Come and demonstrate against the Destiny, because Destiny, from my vantage point, is not going to be things. Again, you've looked around the corner. You're an experienced man. You rescinded the contract, as you stated, and I think that's a magnanimous act. Like I said, it's a goodwill gesture, and you should be heralded for it. And I think anybody and admired for it. And I think, you put country first and put the future of the people first. And basically, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, Mr. Herbert, before you go, for those who are overseas, I know you mentioned the match. Is the match going to be streamed live? I mean, how does this going to work for those who want to watch the live?
Yes, it's going to be streamed live on all platforms, many platforms, YouTube platforms, etc. The match starts at 4 p.m. on Friday. It ends at 6 at the Walwyn Plaza. Walwyn Plaza, sorry. That's where it ends. And it's a message we're sending to the NIA and the larger government in the larger people in the federal government who holds office. It's showing where you come and register your the division as where you want to see your future. I just register it. It's very important to register your sentiments in this occasion because this is just a precursor to what's to come next should this go to the NIA Parliament. Should this matter go to, for example, if the Prime Minister, for example, acknowledges and said he agrees with the program, it goes to the NIA Parliament. This is the precursor to the next step as it relates to the people's action and the people registering their concerns. Send a message directly to the NIA. Send a message directly to the federal government and those actors who sit in parliamentary position. They need to hear from the people. They need to see and feel what the people are feeling. It is high time that this is at least echoed throughout the country in a real significant way.
All right, thanks for calling in and giving that information. Sure, the general public will happy to hear that the civil society have stepped up and moving forward. So definitely, I'm looking forward to see how this turn out and see if the people who have any message to send to the NIA and the federal government about the injustice, because this is like selling out the island because you're gonna have non-nationals, non-natives coming and have more rights than you. That is so crazy, crazy. But I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Parry?
There's nothing for me to say, really, except
Okay.
the gentleman for calling.
All right. The lines are open up. If anyone have any question for Mr. Parry, whether you're for the project or you're not against the project, you can.
And the number to call in is 1-869-662-7196. That's 1-869-662-7196. In the meantime, Mr. Parry, I got one or two questions here from an anonymous listener. As former Premier of Nevis, what is your assessment of the current NIA's economic development policies and priorities? I guess, go ahead.
Well, first of all, let me say this, that I don't see any coordinated development. I see something being done here, something being done there, in a disjointed way. Almost like there is no plan. We have a budget every year, but then projects just spring up outside the budget. So I don't know what is the purpose of the budget. There's no plan for the development of the country. And let me say this. You see that area in the south there, Coxie, etc. If government had borrowed money when they had money and put down a road going across there and tried to put in some infrastructure, they didn't have to put in all. Maybe water lines, maybe electricity poles. The value of the land would have increased right away. People would have had to pay more taxes and people would have sold and development would have started. Look at the peninsula. What Dr. Kennedy Simmons did with the road that led to Reggae Beach. You see things start to happen? Same thing would have happened over there. For people to say the land is waste and nobody doing anything over there, I don't think that is the right approach for development of a country. You need to be positive. You need to have plans. You need to have vision to know how to move to make things happen. I remember when the leader of the Barbados Labour Party, Grantley, Adams, the young Adams, he built some roads all over Barbados, and people criticized him. And those roads helped to develop Barbados until Barbados needs more roads. You put the infrastructure in, and then you can invite people into the development. Local people from St. Kitts and Nevis and overseas could start a housing project over there. Is beautiful. A hotel, you might want to go over there and put down a hotel. Over there is beautiful. Why do you think Destiny want to go over there? Because over there is beautiful. So because people telling you it's not beautiful, you're gonna believe them? You think these multi-millionaires and billionaires are going to go in a place which is not beautiful? You think they're gonna go in a place that is reject and no good? Our people need to think. Don't allow people to think for us. We must think for ourselves. Must think for ourselves.
Okay, so the follow-up question is, how well do you think they prepare us for the future, especially given the current global challenges?
I don't even know that they prepare themselves. How can they prepare you? How they can prepare us when they haven't prepared themselves? I mean, that's the whole point. You don't get... when there is a press conference, the Premier don't know this, the Premier don't know that. You got to consult with this, you got to consult with that. The ministers don't speak. The senior civil servants don't speak. He talked, and quite often he talked, and what he says this week, he don't say next week. By the time next week comes, he says something else. So I don't know if that is preparation, but it tells me that they themselves are not prepared. And if they're not prepared, they can't prepare us. And preparation means information. Preparation means transparency. Again, I go back to the question: which division outside of the Premier can really tell you that they know fully well about this? We don't know. They don't know. They don't know. All they know,
So
all they know is that they're gonna be jobs.
what do you say to the argument that, well, all of the other major projects that Nevis would have had, and maybe even the Federation would have had, the public was never really privy to the things that were agreed to and so on.
That's not.
Why now this project we want
That's
to?
not. That's not true.
So okay, go ahead, respond, continue. Mm-hmm.
That is not true.
Mm-hmm.
The Four Seasons project was spoken about. Even among ministers, there was argument whether we should have it or we shouldn't have it. I remember Mr.
But what
Daniel
about
had
in
to
terms of
take...
the public? What about in terms of the
Huh?
public? Were there public consultation, town hall meetings?
There was public discussion, but not the government. Not the government,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not the government project. It was Dumen's project. So Dumen's did their discussion. Not the government. We didn't do that. And that's not the way it's
Ah,
supposed to be done.
so that's another interesting difference that you are pointing out here, and which is something that the people are crying for as well, because they're saying they're hearing more from the Premier as the PRO for this Destiny project, and we're not hearing from the developers themselves. The only interview
Yes, sir, we have a call here.
Okay, the only interview we would have had with the public, it would have been the interview that he would have had here on our platform. But anyway, hold your thought, Mr. Parry. We got a call on the line and we'll take in the caller. Good evening, caller.
Caller, good evening. Go ahead, you're live. Hello, caller, you're live.
Hear me well, man?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, thank you, Yahsonn, and the guest. Straight to the guest, right? I would like him to give his contact number. I hope he's on WhatsApp. That way, persons, especially in the diaspora, can reach out to him. Persons that need to talk to him. And let me move away from the test real quick. What it will take to get Livingston Sergeant, Derek Parry, and El Comido Willett recognized in their own country for their contribution in sports. Especially, I'm coming at you from the St. Thomas's area. We haven't seen not even one big stone have Livingston Sergeant name or Derek Parry's name on it. What is going to take for that to happen? And let me go back to Destiny and with this wranglings, what's going on right. And the wrangling now directly up on the top between the Premier and the Prime Minister. They're going back and forth in terms of control of the land, Nevis, with the Destiny project. And I just want to know if, as you know, the Premier get elected, he's going to look at the mandate, right? And I agree with you totally. And what is going to happen if the Premier decides to take this on and push it down the Nevis and St. Nevis people's throats and try to go around the federal government, a signature from the Prime Minister, and which will be the trumping or deciding factor? Is the Constitution really going to take precedent here, or is the SSC law will take precedent over that back and forth argument between the Premier and the Prime Minister? And I'll leave it there. Thanks.
All right, thanks for your call, caller. Appreciate it.
I know the caller needs some cutting ground. First of all, let me deal with the business of Derek Parry and Nevis and St, etc. When we were in government, we had a plan of honoring people. We started with Doris Stevens and Sicely Hall, and we had the El Camino Village, the Grove Park name after El Camino Village, and we were taking it bit by bit. And because I am from St. Thomas, I would have honored Livingston Sargent, because he was one of the major batsmen who helped Nevis to do well at Nevis Islands level and put Nevis on the map. And of course, people like Derek Parry, etc., etc. But we didn't get a chance. So I hope that NRP will be back again, so that not me because I won't be in government, but that program of honoring will continue. In terms of the destiny, if you give the present system a mandate, you have a problem. But you still have the courts where you can challenge, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And I think that civil group has already organized themselves to challenge. I don't see the federal government incorporating the rules and regulations of destiny in our local laws. I don't see them ever doing it. If they were to attempt to do it, they will be thrown out of government, all of them. I don't see that ever happening. But the legal way is to challenge in the court. There is also legal way you can demonstrate all over the place. You can bring the country to a standstill by demonstrating. I would not encourage any other form of resistance.
You know what? You mentioned that
you can give me my number privately.
Yes, but you're saying bringing the country to a standstill, but you wouldn't do. What do you mean?
Don't want any violence. Once you start violence, it's very difficult to stop.
I got you.
No, he said he wouldn't encourage any other form of pushback other than the public. So, but
yes, have our next call here coming in. Yes,
okay, let's take the call.
Caller, good evening. You're on the topics.
Hello, good evening. This is Livingstone Williams.
Yes.
AKA Stone Man. Good evening, Mr. Parry.
Evening, Livingstone.
Yes, I commend you with what you have done. But you know, my point has been all along that the legislation had destroyed any hope they have of doing this thing, because they have gone against it. The legislation in paragraph 5, 1D says that they need to have ownership of all the land they want. And in me speaking to Spencer Brand one night, he said they only had 70%, and our Premier said we only had 70%. So how could they proceed beyond? And if you've taken back yours, that means they've got less.
Well, I take your point, Livingston, that you're absolutely right with that. But I'll tell you something: they have less than 70%. They have less. I have information that they have less than 50% in terms of contracts and so on. So that they have misled the people and Nevis again.
I know for a fact they only have 30%.
I know that too.
I don't know where they're going.
So now this information is changing now from 65 and down to 30%. Okay.
Well, I am
The
telling you,
information.
I have seen judgments, and they only have 30% of the land. So you see the lies and the deception and the corruption from start to finish.
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
are not to be in any shape nor form. In any shape or form. Have a good night, gentlemen.
All right, Carla, thank you for your call and appreciate it.
If I may respond, there's so many red flags here, see? The fact that the people of Destiny have not come to promote their projects, to promote their development. The fact that the Nevis Island government has taken it upon themselves to promote a project, and yet they're not telling the people what is actually in the project. 2,000 pages, and the people are not being told. The fact that you had meetings with school children and all you could tell them about jobs, and nobody knows exactly what these jobs are. The fact that you could have a meeting with grown-ups and they said no to Destiny, and you say, the eyes have it. You have the red flags, a wall to keep out monkeys. Why are you going to put up a 20-foot wall to keep out monkeys? Where are you going to run a wall from the sea? And how can you keep out the monkeys anyway?
Yes, sir, we have to get in some of the comments too.
Yeah, what he said to the argument? What he said to the argument that, for example, okay, they would have proposed that they wanted 2,400 acres to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. But however, in the SSZ legislation that was passed, from what I gathered, that you could have a project on even 1 acre. You can have a project on 5 acres. You could have a project on 10 acres. I think the question, though, that Mr. Livingston Stoneman would have presented was the fact that he asked if, when the proposal was sent over, if the proposal was sent with all of the lands covered in it, and he would have gotten one answer from one of the minister, and then we spoke to the premier, he got another response from the premier. So I think that is where the challenge coming, because the premier now spoke to what I am alluding to, the fact that even if they don't get the 2,400 acres that they propose, if they only have 1,000 acres, they could still ask for a Destiny project on the 1,000 acres that they have. But the thing would be that if they already proposed for 2,400 acres, then it would mean that they would have to come back to have a new plan, and that proposal that was presented, if that is what was presented. But then you see, I kind of am trying to keep out of this as well, because I am saying it's a level of disrespect that I should have to be guessing, because all that is happening is we don't know, we're guessing. The premier is taking on the role as the PRO for the development, and only when a question is posed and there's a difficulty that arises, then he comes with some kind of response, and then something come again. And so we are left in this kind of limbo with this level of disrespect that I personally don't appreciate. And I guess this is what the public need to really understand. But you can respond to what I just allude to in the sense of not having all of the lands to answer to that question, and so that people could hear it from somebody like you versus somebody like me.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I have to be very careful here. All I would say, I have a suspicion that if they have so much of the land and they get permission to go ahead, they'll then try to appropriate people's lands. I believe that is what is behind all this. They will take away people's lands and compensate them, whether at market price or whatever price. I believe that is being contemplated, because I understand that the plans that have been drawn up don't have any roads. Why are there no roads? Why is there no road from Charlestown to Indian Castle in that plan?
You spoke about
land. How would
you spoke about appropriating. You spoke about appropriating land, and that's a very good question in terms of the road, because there's supposed to be an existing road, and that was a question that was brought up also.
But the wall that there's the road by the wall that is there, and that the road that is put run along outside the wall that shift would be shift to run outside the wall? If the road that is there, and do you mean they're gonna shift the road and put the road behind the
Bankie,
wall? What do you think they're
me
gonna
ain't
do?
arguing these things because
But that's
what
what the
I'm
road
saying
there
is
for. So what that road? Yes,
I don't want to continue too much on the speculation line. I want to work with what
yes.
is there. I know from what I understand that there's supposed to be a public road that is there. If there is going to shift it, because we would have seen shift. For example, let's be realistic. Where we drive now to go through Four Seasons wasn't where the
We have a
original
caller
road was.
coming in there.
We would have done
We're
some
next.
shifting, but we still have
It doesn't
access through. Okay,
That
anyway,
is
we
true.
can take the caller, yes.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the topics.
Good evening, Mr. King. Good evening, Shadan, and good evening to your guest, Mr. Parry.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Parry is making some points there that I have been making all along. From as early as August last year on the Premier's show, I asked him, why is he selling this from Nevis rather than the developers? If it's his project, if it's the government's project or the developer's project. He said it's the developer's project. So I said, why are you selling this project to Nevis people? He says the developers will eventually come. Well, the developer did come. He came up at Palm Gardens, and he came on the Topiks with Bankie and Shadan. And it was very telling. The developer, Mr. Yahsonn, made it clear that the project they're trying to bring, the portion of going to cordon off and take from Nevis people over there in the south, they did not want any governmental control. He was not shy in saying that. I heard him clearly. And I hope the Premier knows what that means. I hope he knows what that means. They did not want any governmental control.
But the Premier is in a tax. That's already a control in our tax. The Premier said it in the tax. So the Premier knows.
The Premier says it's a tax-free zone.
Well,
How the Premier plan to pay the exorbitant debts that this country has got?
you get 5% of the profit, caller.
5% of what profit?
The profit you are getting now, $100 US each household. The profit already existing. You are not signing off it. They already have half in the profit.
That is like shooting in the dark, Mr. King.
Okay.
You know, that's like shooting.
They're paying you in advance for the profit. Profit that I make.
Mr. King, don't
Caller,
disturb me.
caller, not from not always leaves not, eh?
Pardon?
The caller said not from not mean not.
Well, that proves my point. If they say they didn't make any profit, what 5% going to do for you? What 5% going to do? The other thing is, I have heard from the people who see or who saw the project proposal. They're talking about a 15-foot wall. And while the Premier is belly aching and carrying on and saying that there ain't no such thing, I want him to come and bring the project proposal and show me where it's not only because somebody done show me the proposal. A 15-foot wall. You have a wall. As somebody said, I don't know how high the wall is, but it has a wall. So if the Premier could bring the proposal and show me, maybe he could convince me that there's no wall. I do not understand how the Premier, and I ask the Premier this question. If you come and you establish a zone over my property, you put a big umbrella over my property, where does that lead? Am I inside the zone? Am I tax-free? According to him, am I not going to be able to vote? You're mad?
Mr. King, I've been told by one of the black that if he had the will and if he had the power, he would deport me from Nevis and make me non grata. I asked him if he knew what that meant. I asked him if he knew what that meant because this guy, as far as I understand, he's a dunce. And if you don't believe me, ask the mighty ginger declared him a notorious dumb. I had to remind him that only one passport I have. One passport, and my navel string was buried in Star. So Mr. Keith, this and that Scarborough need to know what he's telling people when he is talking to people. And what he hears in the premier circle to leave them there. This is a serious indictment on him. And he said these things in a public space.
Okay, Carla, you want Mr. Parry to respond?
I think the premier is out of his depths and he need to pay attention to what he's doing. If you're going to bring 10,000 people in here and they want no governmental control, he tells you that there will be no premier here in about 5 years. He would be probably persona non grata.
All right, we'll give Mr. Parry a chance to respond, Carla.
Okay, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
It's not 10,000 people, it's 30,000 people. That is more than the population of at the moment. And
yes,
if you are a citizen of Nevis, you are a citizen of Nevis. To vote, these people who have the CBI citizenship, they only have to be here for a year and they can vote. And there's nothing that the Premier can do to stop them from voting. Absolutely nothing that he can do.
You touch on an issue there, and I'm glad that you added that. And that is going to be something that I guess I am going to bring up with him because he should be on the platform with us on the 14th. However, there was a point that you brought up in terms of you said that they would be appropriating lands that would be part of the plan. No,
it might be.
What
Yeah,
you said they might. Yes, speculation. What is your viewpoint from a leader? Because you're a former leader. What would you have done if this were you? In the sense where we would have heard that there were some lands that were discovered untitled in the area. They used some new colonial mapping system and were able to, I think, discover some 230 something acres of land that were untitled. And instead of, from a government standpoint, seeking to put some notice out in the paper or whatever it is to try to find who those lands belong to, the government just took them, so to speak, and then the Premier would have mentioned that they would have opted to not sell the Destiny project, but seek to exchange to get 1.5 more, 1.2 acres more in terms of the value per acre. From your standpoint as a former leader, what would you have done, so to speak, had you find yourself in that position? Do you think you would have taken the actions taken by the present government, or you'd have sought to look to find ways to empower the people who the lands truly belong to, so that, based on the fact that you're saying, that land is the basis of power, and Nevisians would have always been proud of maintaining their land and so forth. Your response in regards to that?
Well, first let me tell you that when people usually mention the old days, they had something called a rod. And they would just throw the rod down. They never put the rod flat down. I have seen them throwing the rod and so on. And it is not surprising that a man may think he has 50 acres and he really has 75. It was the business of the government to ensure that the people who own land over there were properly informed what was happening so that the people can get their lands, because the lands belong to somebody. The lands belong to somebody. It is just that people were very careless in those days. They did not see the value of land. People died, left lands for their families. They died, they went away, and so on and so forth. That information should be made public so people can claim their lands. You just don't take people land, say nobody own the land, and you're going to exchange with these multi-millionaires. Isn't it the same premise that they can't buy land outside the zone? Huh? They can't buy land outside the zone. So when they exchange for 1.5 acres, where the land is going to be? Not outside the zone? They can't buy land outside the zone. They can't buy land from outside the zone, but he's going to be able to exchange land from outside the zone with them. Eh? So how they get the land from outside the zone? I mean, this is so confusing. There's so many.
You have a next call coming in, Yahsonn.
Yeah,
There's so many
so
many contradictions. Anything like this, run from it. Anything like this, run from it. It's danger.
Hold on.
There's too much confusion.
we got a caller, Mr. Parry, so we're going to take the caller. Yes, good evening, caller.
Caller, you're live. You're live.
Okay, yeah, Bankie and Yahsonn are the guests. I'm back in.
Yes.
To Yahsonn and Bankie, can you guys allow me just 30 seconds, bro?
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Just need 30 seconds, please. Okay, straight to right, because of the fact that, I know who he is and he know who I am. I found it very imperative for me to call back in and show him the respect tonight because I've never gotten a chance to talk to him personally. He know who I am, and I just want to say to him that I got a lot of love and respect for him, especially because of that relationship he had with my parents. And my pops is still here, Mr. Parry, 98 years, and I know he will be happy to hear your voice. And I'm just this to you personally because I've heard some stories about you from my father. I've spent a lot of time with my father the last 7 years, and I got up close and personal with him. And he have mentioned your name a lot to me. And I want to say, you know that I was there, boy, when you came to my house in the village, when you and your former colleagues campaigned with the old NRP. And I find it very imperative for me to come back in tonight, man, and say lots of love and respect to you. And I give you my man going forward. I wish you the best as you retire from politics. And I just want to transfer that to you tonight, sir. All right? And I'll leave it there. Thanks a lot, man. You have a good night.
All right, appreciate it.
And I want you to tell your father, Wilma Jones, all my best regards. I'm very happy to know that he has lived this long, 98 years.
Mr. Parry, before you ask him the question, when you spoke about cricket and cricketers, I also wanted to highlight somebody like Jabala Lawrence, and I think that he is alive and not necessarily doing too well, and I just want to send some love over there to him in Cotton Ground, wherever he is. I think he's one of the cricketers, even though he might not have made it to West Indies, so to speak. He would have done a lot for cricket and Nevis, and not just cricket, but he spent a lot of his years, even after cricket, coaching at the St. Thomas's Primary School and passing on that love for sport to the people in the St. Thomas's community and wider field. And so I just want to take a moment to share that. And other cricketers would have been successful in the area too, but I know he's going through some challenging times, and as the cricketing community, sometimes I don't think we give the kind of love and respect to the people who would have, made their contributions over the years. But yes, you can continue now, Bankie or Mr. Parry.
No, I just want to let Parry talk then if we get in some of the comments. We need to get in some of the comments. We can get to the comments as yet.
I would like to
yes, go ahead.
I would like to join with you on Jabada. I think in terms of cricket, Jabada was one of the most intelligent cricketers around these parts. After Jabada went to Zimbabwe, I think he should have made the West Indies side. He did not make it for whatever political reasons. But the thing about Jabada that I love, Jabada knew how to build an innings. He knew how to make 100. He knew when to take his time and bat. He knew when to speed up and bat. He was something like Livingston Sargent. Those are two of the cricketers in Nevis who I have had the greatest respect for. How they approached the game, how they read the game, and how they understood the game. And it is a pity he didn't get a chance to make West Indies side because he deserved it. But life is like that because Livingston Sargent didn't make it either. And he should have made it too.
Thank you very much. I want to encourage folks as we continue to subscribe to the YouTube platform, click on the notification bell, and if you're on the Facebook, subscribe as well. We're going to take a few minutes, Mr. Parry, and try to get in some of the comments while the phone lines are not so busy. And we'll start off on the Facebook side. Delicious Nichols Brown says, I'm pulling up my chair for this one. Shady Live. It's going to be hot after the break. You don't want to miss it. Bobby Jones says, we need to get the guest to give his WhatsApp number for those in the diaspora who want to contact him. Thanks. Delicious says, keep up your voice, Mr. Parry. Talk long and talk hard. Cheech Warner says, we need dreadlocks leadership in black countries, not just a black man in charge. They become dirty. Rusty Labor says, I am listening now. Delicious says, amen to that, Mr. Parry. You've always been a man of principle. She says, is this match the same match as the one mentioned by DJ Marisha? The dates appear to be the same. I did listen to Mr. Marisha on Wednesday, and he did also mention that this would be done in collaboration with the civil society group on Nevis and St. So that was highlighted. So I think, yes, it is the same match. Sagadan says, greetings and blessings to all. Lynette Farrell says, hell no to destiny. She says, no to destiny. J.D. Kane says, good night all, especially for Mr. Parry. Sagadan says, we don't need any more hotels unless they are local owned. Cheech Warner says, keeping the people slaves is what I see. Bobby Jones says, why aren't this Destiny project issue in courts yet? Sagadan says, speaking of cricketers, when will any of the two parties make Grove Park, Mr. Willits Park, look more presentable? It's full time now that the entire park gets some proper repair work done. Okay. Lynette Farrell says 30% is too much. They just need to go and leave Nevis in peace. Delicious Nichols Brown says, well, I think it has to be decided first. Once Dr. Drew sign on, then the courts will come, is my understanding. We have to wait on the decision Dr. Drew makes. Dolby Jones says, how can they have less than 30% of the lands needed for Destiny and still push this Destiny project on the people? I believe they have less because the people haven't gotten paid for their lands, only a down payment. Propaganda from the Premier, he needs to be removed from the office of the Premier with this breach of integrity. This is a shame. The people just got to keep up the pressure. Delicious says we must watch the play. It's my fear, and I have been saying this all along. I believe they will want to take people's lands at any cost, but I think it will be held to bear with the divisions don't play with their lands. Sagadan says we need to start moving like the citizens of Albania and other places, the citizens, private and public. We need to shut the country down. No work, no school, no shopping. Cheech Warner says, so how soon would they get rid of all black people on island or live as slaves? Sagadan says, that interview exposed that man as a con man, straight and simple, and government will never have control of what goes on in that zone. And that's on the Facebook side. We move over to the YouTube side of things, and over here is very festive as well. Trevor Benjamin saying, and Mr. Parry, in the meantime, as you listen, if there's anything that you would want to respond to, you could, hold that in your thought.
My WhatsApp number, you all know it, you can give it to them. And I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay. Trevor Benjamin says, I'm standing in by the slips. Walcott will understand what that, he said we will understand that term. I guess the cricket term. He says he's standing by in the slips. He says, Mr. Parry, blessed evening to you and the moderators. Do you support the opposition of the NRP taking a campaign donation from Destiny Group? Do you support the opposition? Okay, yes.
I can't speak for Nappy. I certainly
All
wouldn't
right.
take anything, but I can't speak for Nappy.
Okay.
All right. We're live.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Parry. Good to hear from you. Could you
Good evening.
speak on geothermal, where you had put it, where it was in your leadership, and also the cannabis matter? Could you speak on to what you did? I think you were the first party to kind of in support of the cannabis federations. So speak to those two matters, please. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks, caller.
yeah, geothermal. Once we realized that geothermal energy was possible, we moved into high gear to try to develop geothermal. There was a West India company here, which Rollinson Isaac was involved in, that did some work. They built some drill holes, one at Caves Bay, one in the Jessups area, one in the Hamilton area. I think they eventually had some challenges financially. We tried to get a loan from the Exim Bank, the Import-Export Bank from the United States of America, and there was a team of Americans who were willing to work with us to try to develop geothermal. What happened? Letters were written from Nevis by the opposition to the embassy in Barbados, telling the embassy a story, and I have to go back to come forward. The owner of cable TV sought to increase rates during hurricane, the recession and the impact of Hurricane Irma on the people of Nevis, to increase television rates, and we objected. We said, first of all, the people could not be able to pay, and secondly, that the matter should be discussed properly through certain channels. And the guy just insisted on going ahead and said, okay, you know what? We're going to take over cable TV and we're going to pay you for it. At the same time, we were pursuing geothermal, and letters were written to Barbados saying that the government wants to borrow money from the US, and yet they were abusing and prosecuting an American citizen. The embassy informed me about that and said to me that law that we passed in Parliament would have to be pulled back if we wanted to proceed with the loan from the Import-Export Bank. In other words, we went back into Parliament and cancelled that law. The law was to take over cable TV because this man was just doing as he likes. Letters were written to the man's representative in the US by the opposition, again saying that the government was abusing and prosecuting this man and wanted to borrow money. So I had to travel to the United States to speak to the Import-Export Bank to explain to them what we were doing. And because of the delay, we lost the government. We could not proceed with the project. I understand that one member of the opposition said that you can't let concrete get hard, because if it get hard, you have to. So they made sure that they blocked the geothermal project. So today, I'm not surprised that they are where they are with the geothermal because of the nastiness that they did between 2010 and 2013 in blocking the geothermal project. We were actually had people trained in geothermal administration. I led a team to Iceland to see how they did geothermal. Carlisle Carlisle Powell was the minister who was dealing with geothermal, going to meetings, etc. We had arranged in Parliament the law, the code, how we're gonna deal with geothermal. We had we were in negotiation with the federal government to participate in using geothermal because the energy would have been cheap and everybody would have benefited from it. But of course, we lost the government and we could not pursue it. Since then, the CCM has been in government and they've been doing whatever they have been doing. So that is the matter of the geothermal. What's the second thing? What the other thing the gentleman asked me to speak about? Don't remember.
Well, and
I don't have
the cannabis.
Yeah,
But
that
yes,
is something that we discussed internally in cabinet, and we decided that
Hold on. Yahsonn, we have a call on the line.
okay.
Caller, go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. Bankie, I just want to finish off the point I was trying to make. I got a little distracted there. The Yahsonn, I got to as far as where he came on the topics and he made certain declarations here that we can't dispute. It's on the record. And the Premier would like us to see that he was not telling any, we don't know what this is all about. But we've been told. And then he was supposed to come on another radio station and at the last minute cancelled out. And I will go as far as to say he was stopped. He was stopped by the Premier because the Premier considered he was throwing him under the bus. They took on the same wavelength. And the man was saying exactly what they were planning to do. The Premier didn't like that.
Right.
When people see the proposal and it's mentioned what's in the proposal, the Premier got the girls come out and say that's not in the proposal. Why you think people who have a chance to see the proposal first have to sign an oath of secrecy before they see it? So just imagine representative from the Nevis Historic and Conservation Society was invited, or two representatives were invited, and they had to sign an oath of secrecy. Invited to the committee meeting to look over the proposal. Had to sign an oath before they. So they go over there, sign an oath of secrecy, and they can't come back and report to the group.
All right.
They cannot come back and report to the group.
Okay, caller.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we are here, and I would want Mr. Parry to continue on the point of the cannabis industry because there's some questions I really wanted to ask along that line as well. So I'm glad that the caller dragged him through that to some extent because I know that you were the start, and Mr. Patrice Nisbet also was very instrumental in seeking to push it, as he was the one of the first to say, let's treat it as an agricultural crop and focus on it from that perspective.
Let me go into that one time, Yahsonn, and then we do the wrap up. After that.
It was involved in that. And I looked at it from an economic point of view. That's how I looked at it. Because we had sugarcane, it died. We had cotton, it died. Tourism is fickle. And I felt that with the development of the use of the cannabis around the world as a medical, for medicinal purposes, that we were ideally placed to get into that action and grow it. And so we put our support behind it. And Patrice argued that it should fall under agriculture in Nevis, and that we can go ahead with it. But we didn't get very far because we got involved in all kind of arguments to do with hens, and in the end we lost the government. But we supported it, and I still support it. I still supported it. I think it should be grown commercially. It should be controlled, yes. It should be regulated, but it should be grown commercially. I believe that.
I'm quite happy that that is the view and opinion that you have. And one of the things that is highlighted by that is the fact that this Destiny project also, the explanation given by the Prime Minister, even those who might not have been aware of the fact that we have all rights to move forward in anything to do with agriculture because it's not federal, that it could have been done and it still could be done. We should not necessarily have to wait on the federal. It's only for the medicinal rollout in terms of the medicinal side of it, the commercialization, the public side of it that we have to wait for them for. But in terms of the private use, Rastafari going and public individuals having their 5 trees and all of that, we really could move forward with that. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to wrap up, Mr. Parry. It was really a pleasure having you with us on the platform, and we know you could have been doing a lot more things on a Friday evening, but you would have committed yourself to be here with us. And I hope too that you're able to come back at some other point, because I'm seeing, based on the comments and the feedback, that people would still really want to hear more, and I myself had other questions as well for you. But your wrap up, your final thoughts as we conclude this evening's discussions.
Well, first of all, let me say that I thank both of you for having me in your program. I think Bankie approached me many months ago, and you yourself approached me as well. And I said I wasn't ready at that time. And I once I was ready, I let you all know I was ready. And here I am. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to outline the things that the Nevis Reformation Party did in the past to bring the country to a level where we could have full employment, because we did have full employment on when the 4 seasons opened, that we were able to bring electricity, water, positive education, land reform, all those things that we were able to do under Mr. Daniel, that we continued between 2006 and 2013 in the development of the island. And I wanted to make the point that the fuel storage program was a program which we discussed. It was derailed because we had a public discussion. We didn't try to force it on anybody. We had public discussion, so I don't know what they're talking about, that people never used to have any discussion. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. And the 4 season project was properly discussed, properly presented. It was a regular project. There was nothing strange about it. You can't compare the 4 seasons project to Destiny. It's like comparing water to air. Like comparing water to air. There is no comparison whatsoever. I don't know who wants to stretch the situation so far as to make a comparison and to cause it to believe. They're not the same kind of project. Absolutely not. One is a settlement, the other is a development. And that is what I presented. I want to stress tonight that I spoke as a private citizen. I did not speak as a representative of the Nevis Reformation Party. The Nevis Reformation Party has their own views, their own position, which they're quite capable of articulating. I do not pretend to speak for them. But I think as a private citizen, as somebody who has been involved in so many different activities on the island of Nevis, I should also have a point of view, which I can express to the people of Nevis, and that is what I have done. So thank you very much for having me, and I wish you all the success in the future in the work that you're doing, both of you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I do look forward to being able to pick the brains of one like you, who would have been such a success and would have worked in so many different areas and can still contribute significantly to the development of the island. And so I really want to thank you for the time and the opportunity to be able to, well, we don't call it interview here. We say we reason. We have a reason. So we are grateful for the opportunity to have that, reasoning. Bankie, you're closing.
Well, before I make my closing, I just want to ask Mr. Parry a small question. For those who support the Destiny Project, if you have one last word to tell me.
You broke up a bit in the last part of the question. You broke up a bit in the last part.
If you had one thing to say to those who support Team Destiny or Team Jesus, what would you say to them that will convince them that they're doing the wrong thing, that for in the future what would happen down the road? What one thing will you tell them?
I don't know if I can convince them, but I will say this.
Yes.
Remember how we came here. We were brought here, exploited, beaten, and then abandoned. When there was no money to be made, we were left to our own devices. Poor, no proper education system, no proper health system, no economic system. That is how the British left us. When tourism, we realized we could develop tourism, the money comes in and the money goes out. Sometimes the money doesn't even reach here. Our people get jobs at a certain level. We try financial services. The Europeans fight us down. The Americans fight us down. Black countries are not supposed to be wealthy. Black people are not supposed to know the value of money. Black people are supposed to entertain, and after that, they go home hungry. I want us as Nevisians to understand this. Understand that this is not about NRP and CCM. This is about whether we have destiny here or we don't have destiny here. And if we do, may the good Lord have mercy on us, because the wrath of these people will come down on us. They'll take away our lands. They will drive us. They'll take over our country. They will dictate our country. They will own our country, and they will aim us. And you know what will happen? We will just run out of Nevis, try to live in St. Kitts, try to live wherever we can go. And eventually, those of us who live here, our children might not live here, our grandchildren might not live here. And if they do, they'll be under the whip. That is where they would be. But those who have their heads up in the air, and those who think that they're going to get big jobs and make money and do all kind of things, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And destiny does not save the country, because, as you said, Bankie, everything is free. Everything is concession. Everything is concession. And all we're being promised is 5% of God knows what, because we don't know what. 5% of naught is naught. And I repeat that, 5% of naught is naught. And there is no example of investments in the Caribbean where people show profit. No example. No example. Okay?
Mr. Parry, I want to thank you for coming on this podcast and this Friday evening. I said it's a weekend and you could have been doing other things, but you choose to bless us with your time and your grace, and we greatly appreciate it. I just want to, growing up, I would have never fathomed. I'm always enjoying as a youth, running around Charleston, going around the different parts of the island with my uncle and stuff like that, looking at animals. Uncle Brian and with Manson will take me here and there, and sometimes have gospel revival in the tents in the countryside. My cousin Gaston will just as a kid going around Nevis, and to see that we're willing to give it away. I think this is the biggest ever come to the country. And all those who have anything to do with this, in the NIA, who supporting the project, those in St. Kitts, because we all going to be paying taxes. I mean, how can people say they love a place where they're crying and paying taxes? Right now, the IMF, Peter Ajan, I listened to him and I got to shout out to Peter Ajan, and I respect what he's doing, because you don't have to be on the other that radio station breaking down the IMF report, speaking about financial advisement and what he did over the central bank for over 20 years. He's really told the IMF this is the lowest part. This what is expected for the rest of the CBI project is less than 3%. He may reject the money. So these guys are willing to put everything on the table to sell us out, to sell more passport. And we are here fighting amongst ourselves. That's why, as Mr. Parry said, I'm glad you said it. We accepting these things. And there's some people driving these things, our own people. Anybody coming to our head, putting a gun to our head until they give you our land, and ask for all these concessions. If the Premier and all his supporters, all in his cabinet, love the island of Nevis so much, how he the Premier tax? His wife, his children, I paying tax, you paying tax, everybody is paying tax. Four Seasons villa owners, them not paying no land tax. You can't let me have to give up on this tax show. How we accept these things? How can the Four Seasons 40 million, 50 million, they don't they build the next 80 villas and the golf course there, some down on the other side of the left, and then I go pay no tax. And they're going to impose land tax upon me. And me not supposed to got a problem with that? Oh, well, me I got a problem with that because my lawsuit is 6 years old. So I talking for her and those that are in school. So who want to sit there and entertain for little work and you pay your tax and tax going to increase upon you? Because it don't happen. Your land tax going to increase. Your electricity rate don't go back up. And more things going back up. Guarantee you that. And I'm going to keep saying it. I want to say come July the 10th, who got balls, small balls, big balls, who going to come out and walk? Because I going to keep proving my point. Until I see the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and this have to do with St. Kitts too, and Nevis and goes to other Caribbean countries who want to accept this kind of thing. We are prepared to give you 5 years the chance not to pay a tax free. This will be a comedy show. We're going to continue to laugh after this. Just let me say, Yahsonn, I just want to say, may wrap it up. I just want to say thanks for all out and support the Mango Festival over at the formerly known at now is known as Shaska, and big up the tourism authority and all those other part to play over the years leading up to this point. I mean, it was a beautiful day, had a lot of fun. You understand? End up being almost as a guest judge in a sense like that, helping the teas and the mango tasting and stuff like that. So just want to say tomorrow continue the event at the restaurant tasting that goes around to different restaurants, I mean Carbos and the Rocks, Esme's, and then they stop at the Heritage Village, and then you have different setup. We'll be there selling some mangoes and selling other local drinks and stuff like that. So big up Rapso again, who came out and support and give me some help. Really was a lot going on today, back and forth and all over, but the people show me plenty of love. People from Atlanta, people from Houston, people from just all over the place, people coming from just for the Mango Festival. So it is working, and it just need a little more fine tuning here and there. But at the end of the day, the team doing a good job and always come out and support. So give thanks for all those who sticking with us tonight and Real Entertainment, and all who come out to Mansa's last stop and Shabazz. Tomorrow is another day where you come and your local food, where you get fish and cornmeal and okra, your oxtail, your chicken. Just a nice place to chill in good conversation, enjoy the farm. If you want to, if you're on the island and want to visit a farm and have a tour. So thanks again for all those who coming out and keeping my legacy alive. Amanis, big up yourself. Yahsonn?
Yeah, man. Well, Bankie, give thanks, and I myself, would be, well, you will be joining me at Heritage Village because I'll be at the Heritage Cafe by the time you get there, and we'll be a part of that Mango Festival activity. As we wrap things up this evening, I want to wrap things up this way. I think we had a very, very tight and interesting show, and I think we would have had some very interesting comments and perspectives from the former Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Joseph Parry. But I want to end this way by saying, I heard Mr. Parry said that if we're not careful, they're going to take our lands. But I want to end by correcting it a little bit by saying that they seemingly would not necessarily have to come and take the lands because they are being facilitated by some of the most powerful people on the land. So seemingly they wouldn't have to come and take it. And that is the part that is very, very frightening and scary, in the sense that it is the most powerful who is facilitating, encouraging the sales of the land that Mr. Parry here is talking about, that our foreparents would have fought so hard for. And so with that, that's the kind of thought that I want us to wrap up with. And I hope that this is something that, as this program ends, that you could really reflect on that. We want to thank Islander Water Sports. We want to thank On The Rocks. We want to thank Shabazz Organics. We want to thank Imperial Rides. And we'll add Heritage Cafe this evening. So see you guys tomorrow at Heritage Cafe at the end. I'll be at the end of that, run around tomorrow. We want to encourage you before you leave. We're asking you one thing. Everybody who is on right now, before you leave, subscribe to the YouTube platform. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for a donation. We're not asking for money. We're just asking you to subscribe to the YouTube platform so that we could build our algorithms and we could get moving and people pay more attention to us here on Real Entertainment Network. With that said, thank you very much, Mr. Parry. Thank you very much, Bankie, the Real Entertainment Network team. Until next week, Tuesday, when we have another edition of the Topics. See you there. And Monday when we have Quality Time with Alan. Thank you, everybody. See you guys.
Topiks, Bankie and Yahsonn, real conversations. Hey. Lately we be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Tuesday night and everybody tuned in live. Bankie and Yahsonn bringing reasoning every time. Talking politics and the things affecting lives. Breaking down the stories they be trying to hide. Used to trust the system, now the trust gone. Everybody talking loud, but the facts wrong. People tired of the fake and the gimmicks too, so they coming to the topics for a clearer view. Got the whole Caribbean locked on the station. Real Entertainment Network building conversations. No script vibes, not staged for the camera. Just real people talking straight with stamina. Maybe we be having conversations, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Sometimes Fridays got a special live session. Big topics got the whole place stressing. Agriculture, crime, economy discussion. Every episode spark another conversation, and the comments start flying when the live start. Everybody got a view from the heart. Some agree and some disagree too, but at least the topics bringing real views. No pretending when the mic turn on. Yahsonn reasoning while Bankie stay strong. People checking in from overseas too, cause authentic conversation hard to come through. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Into the world.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat. Come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to waste. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
Into the world, the Topiks, Bankie and Yahsonn. Real conversations. Hey. Lately we be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations